Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Welcome, survivors. This is Eerie Night of the Pseudo Posse, and we are back in the 1.0 update experimenting with one of my new favorite blocks, the pole 4-way. This block is very versatile. It is an adequate replacement to the scaffold ladder in so much as you can shoot or melee through it, throw grenades or molotovs, and it protects against cop spit. So if that were all the block was good for, then it already would be in extremely good shape. However, the pole 4-way is also a viable zombie pathing shape, a viable pathing block that has the capability to do, well, this. Lead zombies down a narrow corridor, and as they start to bunch up a bit, some will fall through the holes formed by placing the pole 4-way side by side. Because only a fraction of zombies will fall through at any given time, it isn't suitable as an AFK base. However, it would make for a great melee or ranged design, as while you are fighting zombies, the rear ones will fall, preventing you from getting overwhelmed, especially at higher game stage. You can even knock some enemies back through the hole with your melee weapon. So if you've been looking for a less cheesy base design that is a bit more grounded in reality, look no further than here. What's more realistic than a zombie falling through a hole? Sounds logical to me. Okay, so how to set up? Well, that's rather easy. I've decided to begin with some stairs and fighting platform already pre-prepared. You can design this part however you like, though I would recommend having some side stairs like I do here to make a shorter path for falling zombies to loop back around. Let us proceed with the star of this video, the pole 4-way. We're going to build two side by side all the way from one end to the other, connecting the stairs to the fighting position. Next, I'm going to place some poles, which will serve as support for the corridor walls. I'll do this in all four corners. Speaking of walls, I'm going to select the cube quarter meter and place these 2 blocks high on both sides. Now that we have our walls, notice that there are some smaller gaps on the pole 4-way shapes on either side. If zombies were to walk off center, they will not fall, so we need to force them into that center. I'm going to use the ramp 804 shape and place these on both sides as well. I am using this shape in particular due to the width of the block perfectly covering the sides, leaving the center wide open. To match the height of our cube quarter wall, I will invert these shapes and lay down another row. Make sure to add a roof to this pathway to prevent any zombies from jumping our eventual defensive position. Which, speaking of said position, we're going to use the same pole 4-way shapes and orient them vertically flush against the wall of our path. However, the ceiling is a bit too low here, which will make headshots a bit tricky. So let's take out the roof just over the spot and use some corner railings to raise it up a block height. And to cover the gap formed by the corner railings, I will replace these 2 blocks with more corner railings. Our last functional addition will be the catwalk. Reason for the catwalk is very important. While the pole 4-way works fine without them, it does make melee a bit harder. However, if you raise the floor too high like with cube half blocks, then cop spit can hit you. So the compromise, catwalk. It raises you just enough to still get easy headshots while also blocking all cop spit. The rest of the base can be designed however you like. As an early game base, this is completely adequate and will crush your first horde on Insane Nightmare. I chose to melee the entire horde, though like I mentioned, you can use a ranged weapon if that is your preference. And notice that when zombies begin to pile, some will drop, which is especially helpful to not overwhelm your subpar, primitive type weaponry. Make sure to keep up with repairs as early game. You won't output enough DPS for you to take all the zombies out without any accidental mishaps. But it is pretty low maintenance and works very well if you are actively engaged. Now, if you wanted to scale up this design for a late game stage horde, how might you go about doing that? Well, this is the design I came up with, and it is more or less a carbon copy of the smaller base we just did, but just scaled larger. Now, you can get more complex and include electric traps below the zombie dropper, but as you'll see here, that isn't necessary, especially if you don't want to maintain the upkeep for dart traps and the like. For those that want to cut right to the horde, feel free to do so, but for those that want to see how to build it and what design decisions I made along the way, stick around for this next part, as I'll highlight the reasons for any important choices I made. Now, to be honest, I chose the wedge tip stairs because I don't often use them. But partway through, I switched to the stairs field as I wanted to go higher, faster. We want to go pretty high up in the builds, which will prevent falling zombies from raging and demolishing our supports. Now here I'm going to level out the path so we can switch the direction of the stairs. If you recall from the smaller base in which I added the side stairs, the reason for that will be way more important in a larger base. If zombies fall too far away from the path back up to the player position, instead of opting for option A, which is running back up, they'll instead choose option B, beating on your supports. So, I always like to give them an easy way back up the zombie loop. And to save on material cost of adding multiple stairs, I'm going to wrap the stairs around such that the zombie drop zone is right next to our existing stair entrance. Oh, and just an aesthetic thing, I like to use the arrow slit half ramps underneath the stairs filled to give the underside a really nice contour. Okay, we're back. Did a little repaint job in between recordings and we're ready to continue. Let's place the edge of our fighting position right about here so that when the zombies drop, they'll be conveniently by the stairs so they can repeat the loop. We're going to run some pillar 0.5 meter shapes from the edge of the stair platform to our fighting position. This will support the walls for our corridor. I'm using these shapes in particular because they are not zombie pathable blocks, and in the very unlikely scenario that zombies were to break down the walls, they wouldn't try to run over these blocks. Just my paranoid side acting up. I'm always careful to not create inadvertent zombie paths. Better safe than sorry. While I was rambling, I remembered the pull 4-way path is 2 wide, not 3. So I've got to do a bit of remodeling and shorten that width in between the pillars. There, the same exact thing except 1 block less wide. As we did with the early game base, we'll construct our pathway using the pull 4-way shapes 2 blocks wide. Add some more walls. Do some painting. Add more walls on top. Once done, we will again place the ramp 804 shapes to force zombies in the middle. However, I am running into some slight stability issues due to the fact that our path is too long. Not to worry, we can take care of that slight issue. Knock out a couple blocks and put in some full cubes. Run some pillars from the bottom to the top and cap it off with the cube corner top round. Finally, connect the pillars to complete our support. We'll repeat the same set of pillars on the other side of our pathway. And finally, we need to run some direct supports from the ground to these half cubes because these blocks are directly supporting the pillar 0.5 meter shapes, which in turn are holding up the corridor walls, which will provide some nice stability. Repeat the pillar on the other side of the pathway. Finally, we can finish the rest of our path by putting in the ramp 804 blocks all the way across. Because our wall is 3 blocks high, I'm going to put a row of cube half blocks. We're going to mix up the roof design of our path using railing diagonals. Position those to form a triangular shaped roof along the length of the corridor. This next part is pretty trivial. We're going to outline the perimeter of our fighting position and raise pillars all the way up toward the height of our pathway. I'll have Taco speed that up a bit in editing. Thanks in advance. Okay, finally time to place the pull 4-way shapes to prevent zombies from eating us during the horde. And don't forget to put down the catwalk to make melee fighting easier. I decided to keep the fighting platform simple and used a mixture of full cubes, ramps, and cube quarter shapes for my walls, and I topped the roof off with railings. The last addition is very important. After conducting a horde test, I noticed that once a large group of zombies starts pushing against the poles, some will occasionally be forced through the opening despite the hole being less than a meter. Zombies clipping through blocks is a well-known issue that hasn't ever been fixed, so until such day that it is, we'll need to account for it. Even if we increase the size of the defensive position, concentrated zombies will still poke through. There are two simple options that worked very well. The low-tech option is to place half-length pillar 0.5 meter shapes every other block on the top. Same on the bottom, but offset it so where there is no half pillar on top, put one at the bottom at that location. This will block enough of the hole that zombies will not be able to squeeze through no matter how hard they try. I tested several options, but ultimately settled upon the half-length pillar 0.5 meter shape, as it only slightly blocks the full 4-way hole while also achieving the results I was looking for. Furthermore, these half-pillar shapes were chosen specifically as they do not prevent you from attacking through the poles or throwing grenades or Molotovs. Keep all the functionality while making it safe. The second higher tech option is electric fence posts. Simply having running wire between the posts along the span of the first block outside of the pull 4-way where zombies will collect, and it will stun them, preventing any zombies from making it through. I opted to go with the fence posts here, as all it took was a slight redesign. I knocked out a ramp for a railing diagonal so I could repair the posts through the night with ease. Okay, at this point we are ready to sit back, relax, and see how the base holds up during the Horde. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this one. I'll be doing more base builds, block testing, and other such videos in the 1.0 update. Don't miss out. Subscribe if you haven't already, and tap the bell to get notifications. Oh, and while you're at it, hit the like button as YouTube's algorithm likes them likes. Also, shout out to our awesome Patreon community. All of you rock, and your support is very much appreciated. On that note, this is Eerie Knight signing off. See you all in the next one.